Hello guys, welcome back. In this episode, we're gonna get into what arrays are. And there's not much to say, let's just dive right into it. Let's go. Don't forget this channel have a dedicated Discord server. It's a place where you can talk about the episodes and tutorials of this channel. Maybe you wonder something about the last episode that was a bit unclear. Or maybe you just wanna say hello. And for those who wish to go the extra mile to support the channel, there's a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page, and also there's a membership option here on YouTube. Thank you. If you want to store values, in this case integers, you can do it like this. But what if you needed to store even more values? Or you're going to create a variable for each integer you're going to store? That is going to take a lot of time and a lot of unnecessary code. What you could do is to use arrays. And since we're using integers here, I'm going to create an integer array. And you start up the same, but instead of naming it first, you add square brackets, indicating that this is a one-dimensional array. There is more dimensions, but we're going to start with one dimension. So one-dimension array, and then the name, int array. Now I have declared it. I can either initialize it right away with all values, or I can just declare it with no values. And since we're using integer here, we need to equal new integer array. And in these square brackets, we are going to set the size we want. How many integers should we have in this array? And let's see here, we have 4, 7. So we want it to be of the size 7. So now this integer array have room for 7 integers. How do we get all of these integers into this integer array? And you access a position in an array by going int array, which is the name, curly brackets, and then giving it a value. And we're going to give it a. The position always starts with 0. So the first position in an array is position 0. And that's because computers start counting with 0. First position will be a. And then we can say int array, curly brackets, position 1 equals b. We now have given each position of the array a value from the first to the 7th position. And this array only have 7 position. If I tried and going to the 8th position and give it a value, I won't see any errors here, but when I run this, let's run it. I'm gonna get an error. Index 7 out of bounds, length 7. Array index out of bounds exception is a very common error you get in Java, and that has to do with you trying to give a value to an array that doesn't have that position. We only have 7 here, but we're trying to give the 8th position a value, so it's outside the array. It doesn't exist. So we get an error. So we're gonna remove that one, or we could increase it by 1. Let's just increase it by 1. No errors. And of course no printout, because we have nothing to print out. And of course we don't have to give every position a value right away. Maybe we just want to give position 2 and 7 a value. That works too. So this integer array now at index 2 and index 7 have values. The other indexes have value of 0, because that's the default value in a integer array. And if I had a loop here that we learned about in the last episode, so let's add a for loop. Int I equals 0, I is less than 8, because it's 8 in size, then I++. Add brackets here. Then we want to suso. And then we take this integer array, position I, because we're going to start at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're going to print out the value at those positions. And if we take a look, 0, 0, 9000, 0, 0, 0, 0, 10. And C was 9000, so yeah, looks correct. So yeah, that's how you give values to an integer array you declare right away without giving it any values. And of course we could have done it like this, just declare it. Then we could have said int array equals new int and then set that size for it. This works too, just like we do with other variables. But what if you want to give values or set the values of an integer array as soon as you declare it and initialize it? We can do that, no problem. We're just gonna remove this and we're gonna remove that, but we're gonna keep this part. Giving error here, we can remove this. And here, instead of the semicolon, we go equals 2 curly brackets and we end with a semicolon. And between these 2 brackets, we are going to set the values we want and also the size of the array. So if we give it 2 values, we have now set the value 50 and 40. So index 0 and index 1. Position 0, position 1. And it will be in the size 2 because we gave it 2 values. But if we kept adding, we could just add as many as we want. And so this integer array will be the size of the amount of integers we give it, which makes sense. If we just give it 1 value, that would be an integer array of size 1. Pretty useless to have an array like that, but you can, no problem. And of course, this isn't just for integers. We could have string array as well. And we're just gonna names equal, and we can initialize it the same here. So we have Adam, Boris, Charlie, and so on and so on. This isn't just limited to one type of variable. You can do it with all variables. But I'm gonna remove the string here. And just because we set the values at the initialization of this array does not mean that we cannot change it. We can change it however we want. And we had 7 there, so we're just gonna go sudo int array, then I. Then we copy this. We say int array at position 2. We give value 1001. And then we print out the same array and see the difference. And just so we have some sort of line break so we can see it easier, sudo and of print out. And we should probably have it above here, just so we can see the difference between them a little bit easier. So 566, 9000, end of printout, 566, 1001. So we can change the values of an array that we already made, which is a very useful thing. At the start, I mentioned that this was a one-dimensional array that you can see because there are only one set of square brackets. But you can have a two-dimensional array or even a three-dimensional array. I think you can go further, but the use case of that is beyond my... I don't know what you would use it. But a two-dimensional array, absolutely, I've used it a lot. And a two-dimensional array is pretty much an array of other arrays. And the way we're going to change this one into a two-dimensional array is just by adding another set of brackets. Nothing too difficult here, but right away we get errors. And I'm just going to change this up a little bit so we can see the whole picture. Right now we have created a 2D array of size 0 and 0. There is no arrays inside this array, which is completely useless. But instead of having a specific variable, we add two more curly brackets and then comma, two curly brackets, then comma, then as many as we want when it comes to arrays. So this one right here is a 2D array of 4 arrays with 0 variables inside them. And I'm just going to write another array down here so we can see easier. Int array with an L, I don't know. And then we say new int and we specify 4 arrays and nothing inside each of them. These two are now in the same configuration. We have 4 arrays, which are here, and each of these, there's nothing in there. It would be easier if I just rearrange this a little bit. So I'm just gonna keep this one at the top, here. And I'm gonna say that we're gonna have 4 arrays inside this one with the size of 2 in each array. Then I'm just gonna add some space here. And now it's starting to look a little bit easier to see what's going on here. So we have 4 arrays inside here, which matches. And then we want to maybe give it 2 and 5 there. Then we're going to give 55 and 99. We can give A and B. And the last one, C and D. So now we have a 2-dimensional array here with 4 arrays inside, and each of those arrays have the size of 2. And if we were to print this out, first of all, we can't use this one. We would need a nested for loop, actually. So int I equals 0. I is less than 4. I plus plus, brackets. Then 4 int j equals 0. J is less than 2. Then j plus plus. Then for each, we just add sudo. Then value, space, then plus, int array. And since I is the outer and j is the inner, we just do it like that. And then we run it. And let's see what we have. 25, 55, 99, 566, 9011. So yeah, just like you can put a loop in a loop, nested for loop in this case, you can put an array inside another array, but you cannot mix them. So for example, I can't have a string array inside a integer array or vice versa. So yeah, arrays are very useful to have in programming, especially when storing values and trying to access values, and there's no real limit to how big they can be. Just make sure that you keep integers in an integer array and not trying to mix and match. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope that you learned something today, and if you did, hit that like button and subscribe. There's more videos to come. And I hope to see you in the next episode as well. Take care now. Bye.